Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to support the motion here in terms of the water utility before us. The reasons why I am supportive of this new model are fourfold: accountability, transparency, the benefits to the environment as well as Lake Winnipeg, as well as reduced financial risk and rate stability for our taxpayers or ratepayers. Before I get into my speech, I do want to go through a couple of the amendments that were being proposed. Councillor Lazarenko's in terms of the referendum. I generally like the process of referendums. I think it makes sense. It gives power back to the people. I will be supporting that. The EPC motion by Councillor Steeves as well as Swandell. I think it does answer a lot of issues, a lot of questions that we had with the delegations that had been brought forward, as well as Councillor Clement's motion in terms of the public utility and taking a look at who's controlling the rates. So as mentioned, in the course of this debate, I've really been asked by a number of residents, why are we looking at making these changes to our system? And the reality is, first of all, it's a very important question, but the simple reason that we're looking to look at another management model is the current system is not working. There are a number of factors that led us to this point. As everyone in this everyone in this chamber knows, the provincial government has mandates to do a number of wastewater and water upgrades. And to be fair, they're, if not the most expensive, one of the most expensive in the Manitoba history. The province has also said that you need to do these in a short period of time in terms of the frames. In fact, they've enhanced when we need to get these done. So the big issue for these upgrades is cost. And we know that the costs of doing all these upgrades have gone, some estimate between $800 to $1.8 million. So it's $1 billion problem that we have. To pay for these upgrades, we use debt financing as well as increase the water rates. In fact, water rates have gone up by over 50% just in the last 5 years alone. I would argue, and I think the data suggests, that Winnipeg has some of the highest water utility rates in the country. So my point earlier on about the system not working, it's not a criticism against water and waste. I can tell you there's people like Barry McBride and his team that have been working night and day to find solutions to this. But the reality is that they're not experts in designing the construction as well as everything else that needs in terms of these massive upgrades to our system. Along with the construction inflation, the cost overruns, we really need to realize that the current system is not sustainable and that we do need to make some changes. Rates will continue to rise at an astronomical pace and rate if we do not make these changes before us. So the problem is very much real. Accountability and efficiencies. As mentioned earlier, the current system has seen skyrocketing in construction inflation as well as cost overruns. The business plan before us in terms of the new municipal utility clearly demonstrates that the management can deliver upgrades at a reduced cost to taxpayers. The same standards that are in place, the provincial government obviously monitors a lot of this, will be in place. That's not a factor. So at the end of the day, taxpayers will have a more efficient system, saving millions of dollars to help reduce rate increases in the future. Sounds like a good plan to me. The new model will reduce the rate spikes that we have seen over the last 5 years, and it means that, and what it means to the ratepayers or taxpayers is that they'll be paying less for their water services if we continue the same path that we're headed in. Transparency. Another element to this plan that I very much like is more transparency for our citizens. This has been a controversial issue. I don't think there's a consensus in here in terms of the Public Utility Board, but the new municipal utility would have the rates set by the Public Utility Board in a matter of time. Instead of politicians sitting around the table setting rates, an independent body with experts would be making those decisions. So I very much support this. I think it makes sense. I think it's supported by the public. It depoliticizes the process, if you will, in terms of rate settings. So I think, and I'm very supportive of that, and I think as this comes up, we'll have that debate amongst the council, and I hope you all support that. The environment, probably the most important element of this plan, of the new municipal utility, is what it means to our environment. Everyone in this chamber has heard from the capital region. I know some of the mayors and reeves were here today telling us stories. I know before when they came in November when they talked about raw sewage flowing right into our ditches. So I still don't understand when I hear the fact there's even a debate in terms of the environmental aspects of this program. The evidence should speak for itself. The environment does not just stop at the borders of the city of Winnipeg. What's good for the environment in the capital region is good for the environment in the city of Winnipeg. And that's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine if we were able to clean up all the wastewater and drinking problems within the capital region. That means, and I think Councillor Steeves pointed to this earlier on, no raw sewage in the ditches, no more boiled water advisories for the capital region. This, my friends, in and itself, is reason enough to support this proposal as we move forward. Provincial government support of this. Well, another reason that we make this plan is the provincial government. The province is not just mandated us to do upgrades to our system. It's all over really the province in terms of the capital regions. These upgrades cost taxpayers millions of dollars. If the RMs are able to safely hook into our system, and we know that we have the capacity to do that, it will save taxpayers millions of dollars. And the reality, Mr. Speaker, is there is only one taxpayer. Whether it's provincial dollars, whether it's city dollars, the fact of the matter is it's going to save dollars, and it's going to be a better system and a cleaner system for our environment, as well as an accountability for our citizens. You know, as we move forward in the debate, there has been also a lot of myths that has been generated by the opposition. And I appreciate the fact that people are here, and it's good to hear dialogue from both sides in terms of the aspect. But the first one, the biggest one, I think, is privatization. The biggest myth of this plan is that we're going to be privatizing the water system, water and waste system, and this could not be farther from the truth. First of all, the City of Winnipeg Charter does not give us the authority to sell off or privatize our water and waste system. The City of Winnipeg would need provincial approval for any of this to happen. To give assurance to this, I was very happy, as I mentioned earlier, to support Councillor Lazarenko's motion in terms of a referendum. That should give some people that have some concerns, you hear the terminology that this is a slippery slope, that we're not moving in this direction. And I think that should give people pause. The other item, another myth, is that we are going to sell off our capital assets to a strategic partner. Well, the new model clearly states that all capital assets that's opposed with the water utility is 100% city-owned by our citizens. Let me repeat, 100% owned by our citizens of Winnipeg, all the capital assets. The only element of this plan where the strategic partner will have a portion of it is any engineering, any of these types of items that are done outside the City of Winnipeg or in other regions of the country. Profit. Another myth that profit will somehow cause taxpayers and ratepayers money. Well, the municipal utility is set out as a non-profit organization. So any money that is above and beyond the expenses to operate the system will be sunk back into the utility for upgrades. What this means to ratepayers is a reduce in the spike of water rates that we've seen over the last 5 years, and we will continue to see from years to come. Another item, another issue that has been raised by opponents of the model is creating urban sprawl. Well, the reality is the province controls land use and planning in the capital region.
Moves extension. On favor, contrary.
So the province controls the land use and controls in the capital region. Checks and balances are in place to ensure inappropriate development does not occur. In fact, the provincial government has recently updated, had made substantial changes to the Planning Act to ensure that local communities are not able to hear appeals of their own development decisions by sitting as an appeal body for their own districts. If the new utility model is adopted by City Council, the services for sharing anything else will come back to this Council in terms of the business plan, and you, as representatives of the people that are up here and out there, will be able to vote on this, one or the other. Jobs retained by workers. Well, another concern has been raised that somehow this will eliminate workers. Well, I can tell you the jobs have been assured to CUPE, they've been assured to WAPSO, and workers will simply be transferred over to the municipal utility. With all the capital upgrades, I can guarantee you, of less jobs, of downsizing, it's going to be more way. It's people, they're going to need people, they're going to need bodies to deal with all the new operations that they put into place. So if anything, there's going to be more jobs for our citizens. And if you look at the work rates that are associated with it, somewhere in the neighborhood of 23 or 25% of our workforce are eligible to retire in the next number of years. So there's going to be an ample amount of jobs because the work is going to increase. So in conclusion, the plan makes sense for taxpayers because it provides accountability, it provides rate stability for our citizens while adding more transparency to the system with an independent rate setting process through the Public Utility Board. It will address the very serious environmental issues of the city and the capital region. So I encourage all of you to support the motion before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Smith.